Greetings, Internet. My name is Chris, and this is Veteran Crypt of Hearts and how to defeat it. Now, Crypt of Hearts is currently, this is before Update 5, it's currently the hardest veteran dungeon in the game. The footage you'll be seeing here will be from 2 clips I've recorded. It's gonna be heavily edited. As you can see, this is not even the beginning of the dungeon. But yeah, it's gonna be heavily edited because each run takes about 25 to 30 minutes if you're quick. Some tips here is to interrupt everything you can. You can see we're just hammering them down. I'm even going DPS for some of the groups. And basically, if you don't interrupt some of the enemies, they'll do like a sort of repentance. The healers will do a repentance, which heals everyone by quite a lot. That one needs to be interrupted. Some of the damage dealing ads will do like a stun as well. So yeah, make sure you interrupt everything. Other than that, it's quite simple. This is the first boss, Ibelgast, or Ibelgast. Here you want to kill the healers first before you do anything, because they can heal him quite a lot. Something to be aware of is he drops down a damage dealing circle, the circle of ice here, or ring of ice, and then he drops down a negate as well. We do a tactic here where we pull him behind this rock here, and this is to line of sight the ads that spawn. Basically, he'll start off spawning 2 archers. They've already spawned here, as you might be able to see in the background. After that, he will spawn 2 summoners. These summoners need to be killed, but because we're doing this tactic here, it's not that necessary. But if you don't kill the summoners, they will spawn a massive flesh atronach. Then after the summoners, it will spawn 2 healers. Those are the 2 you can see here, and there's a flesh atronach coming up in the background. Now I mentioned this is an amalgamation of two video clips I've recorded. Basically, the group I'm in, we did about 5 or 6 runs to get the no death achievement. Most of the footage here is from the final run where we actually get the achievement, but on one boss, the second to last one, it will be from an earlier video, because we're doing a tactic on that boss that that isn't really that good for showcasing the attacks, basically. You'll see here, this is also something to be aware of. You have an Ogrim and a ton of spiders. You'll encounter these once in a while. I think you'll encounter them 3 or 4 times in this dungeon here, these Ogrims here. Basically, once they get to a certain percentage of health, they'll start spawning 2 ads. It's random which kind of ads these are, but you can see here we got a healer and a damage dealer. Something to note is that you can't stun the Ogrim, and you can't stun the ads that it spawns. Make sure you also interrupt every single thing again, because they do have some quite nasty attacks, like they have fear, stun, repentance, so on and so on. This is the second boss. For obvious reasons, I'm not going to try and pronunciate that name. This is just ridiculous. She has 3 attacks, or 3 things you need to be aware of. The circle you see right there is a AoE circle. It will spawn on one person and follow that person around. The second thing is the cocoon. You can see a friend of mine just got cocooned there. You have to press X to release that person. And the third thing is spiders. Basically, it'll spawn a bunch of spiders that you just need to kill. You can see I pop out my destruction staff, do some impulse to get it out, but get them killed. Something you can do with the cocoon is you can press X and run away, and it will still release that party member. That's good for avoiding the red circle. DPS here is pretty insane. I mean, everyone here is vet 14. 2 of the people here have trials gear, so yeah. This is the 3rd boss. He's quite simple. Make sure you're blocking the entire time as a tank, because he does a heavy attack that will knock you on your ass. And he also tosses out a fear, and that's in a random direction. You can't block this fear, but if you have immovable, you can negate it. But yeah, it's quite a simple boss, because even if you get feared, you can break out of it. Something to notice, or to be aware of, is that it will continually spawn skeletons while you fight them. So you need at least 1 DPS killing those. This is the 4th boss. First off, you kill these 2 brothers here. These are sort of a prelude to the actual boss, since the fight is kind of simple. These 2 here were actually the final boss in the normal version. Or the final bosses, I guess. Okay, here comes the actual boss. Now this one is quite tough. It's the Ilambris Amalgamation, or Amalgam. What you want to do as a tank is face him away from the group, because he will toss out a ranged attack that will hit everyone who's in front of him. Sort of like a bolt. He's also going to do massive amounts of AoE, so keep moving. You don't ever want to stand still in here. He has 2 phases, lightning phase and fire phase. Fire phase, he spawns small ants that will explode. The skeletons the normal colossus toss out. Lightning phase, he spawns 2 skeletons. As a tank, make sure you taunt the skeletons. He spawns in the lightning phase. You can also taunt the smaller skeletons. You can see this is the fire phase. The AoEs on the fire phase are a lot bigger, and you need to keep moving when it occurs. You can see right here. It's gonna drop it down. Massive red circle. Rain of fire. If you just keep moving, it's not too difficult to avoid. The room is quite big, so you can take advantage of that by just running to the very back. Once he gets to 20%, he activates both phases, as you can see here, and it's just basically a DPS race at that point, before everyone gets killed. Okay, we're coming up to the 5th boss, I believe. It will start off with a group of ads before it. You can see I'm DPSing here. This is the footage from an earlier run, so you will see 1 death. In the actual run, we didn't have any deaths, of course, because we're doing the no death achievement, which is, I must admit, freaking hard. What we do here, we try to split off, so I'll stay behind, because a tank isn't really that necessary, and the DPSs and the healer will attack the boss. But you'll notice that it pulls me in, which for this video, for the benefit of teaching, it's quite beneficial, but not actually if you're trying to do the no death. And you'll see why here. This boss has 2 attacks, 2 AoE attacks. One of them could be interrupted, and the other is a sort of flame thing you can see there. Those cannot be interrupted, just avoid those. The thing that makes this one very hard, and the reason why we split off, or try to, is she'll pull everyone in, and then spawn these circles on you. If your circle touches another player's circle, you're dead. If you end inside one of the circles, you're dead. So yeah, it's pretty rough stuff. But you can see we kill it quite quickly. If you have good DPS, you should only have to get pulled in once. Maybe twice. Yeah, okay, twice. But this one, as I said, we did about 5 or 6 runs, or 4 or 5 runs, I don't know how many. But we did quite a lot of runs before we actually got the no death achievement, and that boss was definitely a tough one. Now this is the actual footage of us doing the final boss on the no death run. You can see I swap out so I have the maximum amount of single target DPS I can have. Something that's good to have is Soul Assault from the Soul Magic tree. So for this boss here, it's similar to the Colossus, because he'll toss out attacks which will hit up to all 4 party members depending on who's in front of him. So if only the tank is in front of him, he'll only toss out 1. He'll also do this sort of skull that will hit a random party member, stun them and do heavy amounts of damage if you don't block it. So it's good to have someone calling out block, similar to in Elden Hollow how it's good to have someone calling out dodge. You can see he spawns these kind of anchors from the ground. Just basically sidestep quick enough and you can get out of them before they explode. See, that was the skull I was talking about. And then he also spawns 2 adds. These are 2 raves, frost damage. So it's very important that you kill them quickly, because frost, as you know, will slow you down, and that's not good when he teleports, does AoE, or when he does his anchors. The teleport will happen after he summons adds, after he tosses out a skull, and after he finishes his anchors. So basically the teleport is pretty reoccurring, so you need to make sure you can get out of it. Constantly be moving, you don't ever want to stand still in here. Now we soon have him down to the second phase. Once he gets to the second phase, he picks up the sword in the middle and goes full apeshit. I mean, he goes nuts. This is why you want to have a secondary bar with DPS. Or damage dealing abilities, whatever, single target damage. Because what he'll do when he goes into the second phase, as you'll see here in a short while, it should be right here, he'll lift up the sword, then lift up his hand, and then knock down everyone, and then pick a random group member, which he's gonna pick up into the air, or lift up into the air. And that person needs to be spamming X, because if not, he's gonna die. Everyone else need to focus on the boss and kill the shield on him. If you kill the shield, you will save your party member. If you don't, the party member will die. This is also what makes this place really hard to get a no death achievement in. Or completion, whatever. He does a lunge as well, where he sort of leaps to a random party member and does an AoE circle or AoE swing, whatever, like spins around. You want to make sure you're spread out so this won't hit all of you at the same time. That's the kill. That's the no death achievement you see popping right there. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this and found it useful. It was a little bit quick. As I said, it takes about 30 minutes to complete this, and I reduced it down to about 14-15 minutes. I hope it was useful. So yeah, don't forget to leave a like, leave a comment, so on. I'll be doing trials later on, guides on how to defeat the first 2 trials, Ethereal Archive and Hellra Citadel. So yeah, stay tuned for those. Thanks for watching.